This is Mavis Cognier. Did you go to school in Muncie?
Yes, I did.
What was the name of your school?
Jackson.
And where was it located?
On the corner of 2nd and Madison.
Okay. Can you describe your school for me? Say about how many students, how many classrooms?
It went to the 8th grade. And of course it was 2 stories. No, I can't remember how many, but then the classroom was full. Oh, they'd probably been around 25, at least.
25 to a classroom? Or?
Yes, yes, at least, I would think.
How did you feel about your education?
Loved school.
Did you want to go to school but were not able to?
Right, yes, I love school.
Was the need to work a big reason for students not going to school?
With some, and I would say, well, that could have been, as I said, the family I stayed with. I quit school because of having to take care of her, and it interfered with, with me attending school. Because they got on you in those days. They had truant officers that came to see why you wasn't in school, and those things. So I knew that, and the one time that they came to call on me, well then immediately he seen the situation, and he said, well, at my age, even though I was only 14, that I could come out, because the grade that I was in, which was only the 6th time, was, then they said 6B and 6A. 6A, of course, was higher, But that was my reason for coming out of school.
What subjects did you study in school?
Well, let's see. We had natural reading, writing, arithmetic, history, geography. They didn't say hygiene, physiology, music, art. I think that's it.
Did you ever read any books about black people?
No, not up to. All the reading that I did from that has been in later years.
Did whites ever discourage education of black people?
That I don't know. I didn't live under that. You see what I mean? I feel like, yes, evidently in some areas it was being done, but I never come under it. Now, as I said, when I went to Mitchell, Indiana, and went to the colored school, of course that's separation, and they didn't mix until they went to high school, and then they but now that.
So the schools here were integrated.
Yeah. Oh yes, they've always.
And all of your teachers were white.
Oh yes. I don't know the white teacher. I'm a black teacher. I don't remember seeing it.
When you were in school, did you have a particular job in mind? When you were small, did you want to grow up to be something?
Yeah, music. Love music. Because when I was very young, I started to playing. As I said, we had the organ, and I guess about 5 years old, just by ear. I just loved it. But we all did. My brothers, the older brother, why he played drums, or he played drums all up through life until he was, I don't know, about 50 years old. We just love music.
Did any of your children attend college?
No. The youngest boy, now he probably did some in service, but I wouldn't count that, you know. But no, they all went through high, but none of them went to college. Well, at that time, you see that was those years, because my children come through that depression, and they felt like that they had did good to make it that far. So that was, again, that was the reason. And then they all went through school here in Muncie.
Do you know how much education your parents had?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I can remember my mother was a very intelligent person, and I'm sure that she could read and write, and, you know, that, but otherwise, I don't know.
Okay. Can you name some of the black colleges that you heard about when you were growing up?
You know, I didn't think of them like that. Right here in Indianapolis, what's the name of that? What's the name of that school? And you know, I never thought about that being a colored school until here the last 2 or 3 years that they've had so much trouble over there. Oh, isn't that terrible? If I could call it, I know you've heard of it time and time again, but I can't call it. But I really was surprised, and I thought, well, I'd have never thought about a school that large in Indianapolis being colored. But evidently it must all, you know, be all colored as far as I understand, but I just recently knew that. So, old Booker T. Washington, you know, knowing some of his history, not too much, and call his name, the man that did the Peanuts. Now I read, yes, and I loved that. I read his books, you know, so far that was so interesting. But to be familiar with, you know, colored colleges, I'm not. I know. Only just recent years that you hear so much.
Which black children were most likely to go to college? The children of laborers, or people who did day work, or the children of ministers. Did many children from around here go to college?
Oh, yes. Yes. And I'm going to say there's a many mother-daughter that worked scrubbing floors and have sent their youngsters to college right here. I have a dear friend who lives over on Kirby Avenue now, and she sent 3 to college, and each one is beautiful. Her one boy, the oldest one, but she had twin boys, and the oldest twin lives in Milwaukee, and not really, he's superintendent in school, and just how many things, and then he took up, well, how would you say it, he's not a contractor or anything, but then builds his own homes, and just, I mean, he really does a beautiful job. I know he built his first home up here on Butler Street. That's Butler. And the drain, I've never heard of it, but it's done with a chain. Have you ever heard? Well, the home is there, but I know it was wrote up in the paper and all, but then that was his own ideas, you know. And, the different mothers, the different friends that I have that have, yes, that they've sent their children to college. Yes.
Did many of the students who went to college stay in Muncie?
Well, her daughter, now she had the twin boys and one girl, and her daughter teaches here, yes. And she's, now wait, now what kind of teacher is she? Isn't that awful? I can't. You caught me in a terrible time. Not now, but there's something happening to me. I can't remember anything. Am I losing my mind?
What is your friend's name on Kirby?
Odell Skipper. Odell Skipper. She, what's that address? She's right on the corner of Kirby and Ebright. 1000, I think it is.
Okay.
Yes, now she'd have possibly books. Well, I know books. I know no possible to it. Her house is loaded with books. Newspaper clippings. Because again, she's raised her children that way, and she's like that, you know. I believe it's a craft, because building, decorating, all of that. Her daughter loves it. But don't tell her to wash up the dishes. Yeah, outside, she's just wonderful. She really is. That's somebody you'd enjoy talking to.
Oh, that was good.
Yes, She really an interesting person.
What was your transportation in school? Was it walking distance?
Oh, yes. Yes.
About how far away was it from your
Well,
house?
you know how far Kirby in Persian is from 2nd and Madison. See, that's as far as I had to walk.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I came right up, what is that, 2 squares or 3? What's next to Kirby Avenue?
Yes, Mom.
Yes, it's 2nd Street. Then it goes over. No, it doesn't. It goes this way. It's newer this way. Yes, it's Kirby Avenue 1st, and then 2nd and 3rd, because you're going on over to Willard. That's right. Yes.
Okay. Were you punished in school?
No, not me. I was very good.
Okay.
No, I was always scared of that stuff. No. And then I was raised a little different, too, you know.
Did you ever notice if black students were treated differently from the white ones, say, and how they were punished?
No, I never saw that. No, I couldn't say that, because I remember one girl, she didn't live very far from us, and for some reason it seemed like she was a pretty roughy child. I don't know how she do, but now they worked with her in every way. What I mean, they would put her back, because she was ahead of me, and just different things like that to get her to study or behave herself. And I don't know nothing brutal what they did to her. They really seemed, well, I just remember different things, because I know one time they even put her back in my room, which I was just in the 4th grade at the time. And they would have her to do things. Oh, for instance, just, Helen, you go and shut the door, or just, things like that. And then in punishing with children, they would probably have a seat in the corner of the room and make the child sit there, see, alone, and do his lesson, And those kind of things is all I ever saw.
Can you think of any black families where the entire family worked for a white family? Say all the mother and all the sisters worked for? No.
I know husbands and wives, which isn't unusual, is it? To work together, yes. The woman is possibly the cook or nurse or something of that kind, and the man is the yard man and chauffeurs. like that. So, now this Grovell Peel. His wife, I don't know what all she did, but it was very uppity. It wasn't any. And I was trying to think, did he go in a private family after he came out of factory? But I guess it wasn't him. It must have been a brother. I'm getting them mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
But his name is from my mind because she also wrote the script for the colored news for the paper, and she was that type, very high, muckety-muck, as we used to say. Bless her heart, she passed last year.
Did you or any black workers have black bosses? Do you know? Were there many black people who were in charge?
Not that I know of until just here recently. And I think I'm telling you right, because I was saying some of the questions you'd asked me to my son. And as far as a colored organization, you know, within the community, he said no. And he said, because in his time, and I said, well, there is something. I said, I'm glad for him to speak up that way, because I didn't remember any. And even as he said, after all, him, you know, going to school through here and everything. Now, and him going, for some reason, it seemed like my son would be the only colored in classes at different times. That is, after getting up to junior high and, you know, things like that. And he made honor boy. And it didn't, well, excuse me, they get after me by saying that, things like that. But I do feel dumb, because it seems like other people don't think like that. But I never paid it any attention. I was proud of him that he made his grades and he got it, but I didn't feel like, oh, my son, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that. Sometimes I'm sorry, but I don't know. So when he did it, but anyway, in this, in the parade where I took care of the flag, and then they said after he was the first colored that had ever did it. Mm-hmm. But I thought, well, so what? I don't mean any harm. Mm-hmm. I don't. My youngsters told me that once. Said, you know, I didn't brag on them, but I did in my way. I would the report cards and those things, and that he made it. The youngest boy went to school his 12 years. He never missed a day. That's the way he got his honor, you know, all of that went in there. No, he never missed a day. He was out, but I don't know how that afternoon was. But anyway, he went to school and, you know, for his record and everything, so he wouldn't be counted absent. He got an awful cold, and he was just so sick, but he did not want to miss school. And so he went in, you know, and reported and everything, and then, you know, then came back after so many hours. But again, for, you know, color, and I always taught my children, now with me going to school, some way I learned that teacher's pet, well, that's just human. But it's simply, to me, the white children were there. The teacher was teaching them. It's open, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I heard the same thing they heard. When they put the demonstration on the board to show you how to work your problems or however, I'm looking just like they are. And that's what it's done for. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't see no reason that I should think the teacher was supposed to draw me out, you know. And that's what I taught my children. I'd always tell them, now don't come telling me that teacher, because she didn't take you up in her lap and tell you something, because you're right there with the rest of the children. Mm-hmm. And you're right there with the white. You hear the same thing they hear. Now that was just I couldn't see anything wrong with it. So for them to take more. And the schools now, they're terrible. I hear about them, because you see, I haven't had a child in school since 50. And, but I hear of the parents, they don't know anything their child does until something happens at school and they have to get on about it. Then they go and want to whip the teachers and all of that. Well, now that isn't right. And then when you see some of the children, because everybody, all the mothers is working nowadays. So the children go to school and you see them on the street and they look like I don't know what a lot of times, because Mama's at work, she's making the money, you know. So I tell you, see, you don't want to talk to me, because I don't see life like that.
So, do you think black people had more pride in themselves back in those days than now?
Darling, I don't know. I see people are just people. I mean, things are the same as far as I can see. There's just more of whatever it is. There's always been people with no pride, they don't care, and we still have them. Now that's the best way I can answer your question. I don't think it's any different. Do you, in your work, or as you've come this far, or from your parents, that old people will tell their, things that happened to somebody, or in the fields, and raising their families, and the husband running around, and how it was done, and all. Okay. Well, they're doing the same thing now, and they did it 80 years ago. Those people of that age are talking about it, And for instance, did you turn that off?
No.
Well, you should have. Like they were raised right, and they'll repeat many times, something will come up, and they'll say, if something is just right down to brass tacks, then they'll say, that should have been, but yet they don't do it on their children.
So who decided? You decided the rules for the family in the old days, and you disciplined.
Do you get it in my voice? Well, Dad was very, I don't know, he was just one of those men, he left everything up to me, And if things got with the boys, something they'd do, and I'd say, well, why don't you, get on them, And we'd be talking it over, and then he'd go, if he got on them, he'd go and say, why do you do so-and-so and so? And then your mama gets on me about it. He always would put me, and I didn't like that, but that was just his way. Oh yes, I'd very often, if anything come up they didn't do it, I'd say, now look, your daddy didn't chastise you. He didn't say so-and-so and so, but now you're going to do, I'm ashamed of myself. But I had 5 beautiful kids, because it's that way. And grown. This morning, my son was after me because he doesn't want me to cut the grass. And Mama, you're not going to do it. He just So finally, he got so far, and I said, "Now look," "Now let's get your voice a little bit lower. I can't take it. Now I'm saying that part to you. No. No, I said, it's just the same. I said, now you're 47. I said, but things have not changed. Well, I'm trying to do it like right. I said, okay. I said, do it like I'm telling you then. I said, you know how I want it. I said, I haven't changed. I said, you know I like things to be done halfway, as near right as I know. I don't like things halfway done, I said, now you know that. I said, it hasn't changed. Of course, he laughed and he said, well, if I get a whipping, I'm still going to cut the yard. I said, okay, then do it right.
So when you
Yes.
when you were growing up, there was respect for the elderly.
Oh, yes.
Would you say it's very different today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that's different. Because parents don't believe in children saying thank you. That's old-timey. And wait, there's another word we use for it. Oh, yes. There's children come in here now and they'd walk right on over again. Never say excuse me. Yeah, now that's...
At what age did your children leave home and start assuming responsibility for themselves?
Oh, my daughter started up working at 16. She went right out of home into private families and went to doing a woman's work, and I like to die. Well, it was hard, you know. And I mean, she did it on her own. That was it. Anything my children did that didn't interfere or wasn't disobedient, I never objected. So she got her own job and everything, and before I knew anything about it, well, she was ready. Everything was set, and she was ready to go. You know, and I didn't, but I guess they grew up. They was independent, and they didn't want to be tied to Mama's apron string. And I knew my kids were like that, so I always respected that part, which was many things I didn't like, you know, but I think, well, they're not hurting anybody, or, you know, it's nothing. So, but yeah, she was 16, and well, all of them, when they got, they're outside of carrying papers when they were, you know, 12, 13, like that. But they were around that age when they started working. But then that would be as youngsters would in the bowling alleys at that time. They set the pins. My oldest boy did that. See, you don't know anything but the machine setting them, but they did it by hand. And maybe once or twice in a home or something like that. But then as soon as they got old enough, you know, to really go into jobs, they were around that age. I'd say 16 and 17.
Do all of your children still live in Muncie?
No, I just have 2 here in Muncie, and then the oldest boy lives in Elkhart. Of course, the other 2 have passed, as I told you. I lost 2 sons. So, and the oldest boy, as I said, he's full decorator. I mean, he does it in every way, in and out. And the youngest boy in service, he went to school as much as he possibly could. And in the trade schools, which when he was in high school, he went to trade school here, taking mechanic at the time. So he's taken everything in that line.
What are your children's names that still live here in Muncie?
Earl Thomas. And Willoughby Johnson is a girl.
Okay. Did you know any blacks and whites who live together or are married?
If I remember who it is. Oh Lord, we've had. Well, let's see. Right now, who? right off the cuff, I can't think of anyone. Elderly people, I mean, or it's been so long I've even forgot. This Odell Skipper's name, the son I said that lives in Milwaukee, and they married here. He's married to a white girl. And I think she teaches. I mean, they did. Again, I mean, they're not. I'm so sorry for them. Well, they did. They said the dad, he worked at the gas company, and we had a colored man, worked in there. And later on in years, I don't know, and I'm sure you've met him, Charles Frazier.
No,
You haven't met him. Well, he's very prominent. He worked there, and I don't know, we got in a conversation one day and something was said, but he didn't know what happened, but said this man, he lost weight, and they was so worried about him they couldn't figure it, because it just about killed this girl's father. Oh yes, it really, I'm not a mother, I never understood it, but, and I guess they just forgot her, because as far as I know, she never went back home.
How does the black community feel about it?
Oh, darling, now that's just usual, It's just when we see them, well, that's just the black man. Of course, a lot of times you can just see him just clowning over this white girl. That's way like they're really elevated, But we have quite a bit of it.
How did you meet your husband?
How did I meet my husband? Well, how did I meet him? Well, I think just the usual way. He just come where I was at and thought I was the grandest person ever was, and that was it.
Were you married here in Muncie?
No, we married in Ohio.
Tell me what you think about divorce.
Never divorce unless it's absolute. Absolute. No, I don't. Because married life is one of those things, as I say, it's just what you make it. And so many things happen in married life that no point of it.
Where are you at?
Right here. Wait, what was it?
What holidays did people observe in the old days? Maybe that they don't do now.
I don't know if any of the people don't, celebrate now the same. Thanksgiving and Christmas has always been big days, and of course Easter, and also Halloween, because we celebrated all of them. No, we never did too much for Halloween because I think the kids were kind of scared of them. But it was always 4th of July. Oh, that's a big day.
Was it celebrated a lot differently then than it is now?
Oh yes, as I told you, because this park over here, listen, you couldn't get in it. And of course, since I've lived here, the parking up and down here, well, if we left, we'd have to put something in the steps to keep them from parking so we could get back in the house. It'd just be that thick, just everywhere. Very big occasion. And then they had Derby Day. Of course, it has really spread, but when it first started here, that was another big day. You know, the little cars, you know, they build and sponsored and all of that. And when they first started here, Broadway, well, when you get up to the school there at Holland, you notice it's kind of a, but it was more of a hill. It was enough. And it was, but they have cut that down since then. So now, of course, they've built a ramp over there in the park for that. They still have Derby Day, but the ramp that's there in the park, it's been built since. But when they started it, they used Broadway Hill for it. So we had quite a few, again, you're saying entertainment, now that kind of stuff, you see. But when you're speaking of an organization of blacks who do these things, no.
In those days, you and your family attended church?
Oh, we never started attending church till about 1940. I mean, attending, you know what I mean. And then my husband and I both went into church then. That was it.
And what denomination?
Baptist. Yes, at that time I belonged down here in Macedonia. As I said, we were down there about 15 years before I went into Jehovah's Witness.
Was there ever any violence against blacks in the community?
Not that kind. I understood that, well, my son said when he picked us up the other day, the lady that I was with lives in the apartments. And he was saying that they had a riot over there, which would have been last week. Did you hear anything about it? Yeah, like that. But now, what it consisted of, I still haven't heard, you know. But those kind of things, yes, what you're speaking of, no, I remember when the Ku Klux Klan was here and paraded, but they didn't do anything.
What would you say were the major fears of black people back in the 20s and 30s?
I don't know what it could be on being out of work. That's the only thing that I could think of. That's the only thing bothered us and the people, our friends, neighbors, you know, and the surroundings, in the community, I'll say it like that. That's the only thing when work would be down, you know. Of course, most of us had families, and we'd be connected with the children in school, you know, and in that sense, things that the children needed, we couldn't get, or it was hard for us to get. So it was all financial, you know, words.
How did you feel about the police?
Now those things you shouldn't ask me, because I haven't had any trouble like that. You know? And the feeling
Did you know any black policemen?
Oh yes, here since I don't know what year, but we've had black folk police. John Miller lives up there on Macedonia and Lowell, which has retired. He was, and his son was also a policeman. Melvin Miller lives on Holland Avenue. brother-in-law was the police,
Who was his name?
Ambrose, but he's deceased. And those three, they were very well thought of. Of course, you heard complaints, somebody, because I know there's family down here, and they tell it over and over about Melvin Miller being so mean and all to a nephew or something. But then, where they saying that, there was 6 others that thought Melvin Miller was, So there it goes again. And then there were others, oh my, and I think, they called him Smokey now. I knew him as Clifford, what was his last name? He's deceased. Now the wife is leaving, and he was on police force. And then right now, what is her name?
Clifford was the last name?
No, Clifford was his first name, and I'm trying to think what was his last name. And I really don't know where his wife lives right now. Isn't that terrible? I can't think of his last name, because it's been so long, because he was ill and went blind, and he's been that way so many years. I guess he just passed last year. And this colored police now that's on the corner of Gavin and Holland Avenue, and his wife is a technician at the Bow Hospital.
What were the major illegal activities in the black community? Was there a lot of gambling and
Oh yes, plenty. But I couldn't. Could I even give names? Because again, now my husband there with the pool room.
Do you know if most of them were owned by black people, or they were in the black community and whites owned them?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
How do you feel about being called black today?
I can't say I've ever liked it. Now I don't care, because I call myself black because I know my color is black. You know what I mean? But there's so many shades of it. Right? You see what I'm saying? So since it's always been colored people, to me it fits us much better than saying black. Now when somebody would tell me she was a black girl talking about you, of course now I realize that it's all combined, but I don't hate it when they say it, but it just seems like, because when it started, as far as I know, the blacks, that's what they wanted to be called. When it started out, black is beautiful and all that, and they wanted to be called that, but I never understood why.
How do you feel about being called an Afro-American?
Well, darn, it sounds all right to me. I don't know that much about.
But you would
to get the meaning, you know what I'm trying to say? Now, as far as people, well, I've heard it, and of course, way back, something come up and they'd say, well, I'll send them back to Africa. Well, that just, to me, the thing about it, how many of us had ever been there? We don't know no more about Africa than they do. So again, being called that.
In the old days, did people talk about Africa much?
Mm-mm. I know. I wasn't in that. Around it.
Did you ever think about Africa as a homeland?
Well, no, because from the study in school and the pictures, to me, I couldn't visualize living like that.
Mm-hmm.
To think of, being, the way they dress and everything, putting them things in their nose, and I'm chicken. I couldn't imagine nobody hanging nothing like that in my nose. I love earbobs, but even that, now I do have some that drop, but not them heavy ones that looks like it, so not to me. It just, so again, as a homeland, no, I can just picture different things that just.
In the past, do you think that young people were ashamed of their color?
That's always been.
Mm-hmm.
With some people, yes.
Do you think it's so today?
Oh, yes, sure. Look at the counters. Well, sure. The bleachers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the past, how did most people feel about fair skinned blacks? Were they usually better off or worse off?
Well, let's see. I would say yes with some people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you know what I mean? Take yourself. Haven't you noticed a difference in some places you're at,
Mm-hmm.
or groups that you're with? Well, that's the way I'm trying to answer you, and that I've always seen. Yeah. In families, they'll do it many, many times, and I don't know. I keep repeating, I'm an awful, dumb, silly person.
No,
I
you're
just don't look at things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for instance, I'll say this. This friend that we took the trip with, it hasn't been, well, maybe 2 years. It may have been long, but not very long. And she's known me, as I said, let's see, this boy's 47. She's known me, I'll say, 45 years, because he was just a baby, but could say 46, because he was still in diapers. And she told me one day about my husband being brighter than me. And I'd been with him all them years. I'd never noticed it. He was brown, but like my son here now, he's all suntan. But they got a reddish complexion, but now they're not dark as I am. You look at him, you see he's not dark like I am. With that, although he looks terrible even to me now. And that was his dad. Now, for instance, his dad never had a division. Now, in the summertime, I really got one in my hands here, see. But now his dad, it was always a blend, you know what I mean? But yet he was brown. But and again, I'm saying that to you to tell you what color means to me. Now, I've lived with a man all those many years, and I thought he was tall, handsome looking in his clothes and like that. But
It never occurred to you
no, I didn't know he was any lighter than. Now that's the truth. Now my daughter, because my two older children was my first married. She's never married. That was it. Well, now they were lighter, but a light brown skin, not light. What? And the boy wasn't as light as the girl was. And I found out after they were good-sized kids that the boys were always kind of, because she was a little lighter than them. And I thought it was terrible. They never voiced it, but there was something. And then they're the type of people, my daughter and my older son, as they get older, they darken, every one of them, in their families like that, most of them do. They darken. Now my daughter is much darker. Now we'll meet up with some of the older people, or they knew her, she grew up, and they'll speak about, she's so much darker now. And I look at her sometime. I told her something she was doing. I said, well, you keep on, you'll be black as your mom after a while, because I tell you, she's sure. But that don't, but yes, but it's nothing new, sweetheart. That's always been. And there's something about a human that in a family, if you're lighter than your sisters or something, it's something it does to them, or probably it'll do it to you, that maybe you feel, well, after all, or your hair is, and it's just, that's just the human in us. Now that's the way I look at it. And you have to use common sense with it all, that we're all, now again, that's with the white, as you say. There's something within me that I just look at them as people. If they're friendly, well and good. See, now that's the only thing that bothers me with them, is when they, well, they have that they're better than we. Well, I just look at them and love them, that that's the way they feel. But you take white people that if they're down to earth, and you know how some treat you. Well, now, yet and still, it don't elevate me. That's just a white woman, and we're colored. Now, that's true.
In the old days, what kind of toys did you play with?
Oh, darling, we had about everything. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. Because we had, the boys had sleds and ice skates and roller skates and, Of course, with my brothers, well, my younger brother, he loved ice skating. And, of course, the sleds and all of that stuff, the winter, and the skates in the summer, and, of course, as I said, music. So there was a drum in our house from I don't know what age. And, of course, by having an organ there, and your dolls, your doll furniture, and just...
Did you ever have any black dolls?
Black dolls? No. That's come in my time now with the black dolls. No, I never seen. The wonderful doll was the china, and it was, china dishes, and they were real china. I'm so sorry that mine got away, because I had them, beautiful. Of course, they'd be painted up with their black hair, and all like that. But no black dolls. All that come in your time.
Did you ever see any black actors or singers, entertainers here in Muncie? Did any of them ever come here?
I don't remember, because they had vaudeville shows. As I said, those two theaters here all the time, and of course there was an awful lot of blackface comedians. So now I don't remember of ever seeing a colored comedian on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, here, but of course you know the age of some of them that we still have. We know that we did have colored pianists and whatnot. You see. Mm-hmm.
Who were your favorites back then?
Oh, mercy, let's see. To stop and think, because records was all the go when I was growing up. And I'm wondering, when you said that, I'm wondering, yes, Pearl Bale is about my age. But I'm not sure about her records, though. And right now I can't think of a colored singer, and I know we had them, because my sister-in-law, she bought every record come out. I remember songs, but now who was singing them right now, I can't. But that's really not, there goes again, and I shouldn't break in. It's not worrying me, but I really am seeing myself just, as I said, my husband's been gone 6 months. And things that people have said, there goes again, but I've always been such a strong person. But I guess it has, because I noticed I simply, something come up, well, right then I can't call the name of it. And in talking, I can't talk. My vocabulary is terrible. Oh, darling, now listen, wasn't perfect, but now listen, because I've always talked, and I could talk more correct than I'm doing now, and I notice it.
Mm-hmm.
My words just don't come. I simply can't call the name of that. I know what it is, but I just can't say it. And that is just happening. Mm-hmm.
In the past, how did women beautify themselves? What kind of hairstyles and...
That I was thinking about yesterday, because I'm getting these splotches very badly. And I was thinking how the women used to paint their eyebrows, but it was something that it made them real thick. Of course, how some people, just like they do now, they really have it. And it just come to me, just what you're saying, just how people made themselves up then. The eyebrows would be real heavy, with that stuff, and rouge their cheeks and their lips and all this jewelry, yeah. And their hair, oh well, everything. They've done everything to it they knew to do. Of course, some people wore, I don't know much about wigs, but then attachments, maybe braids, they braided in their hair, like that, like they had long braids or something like that. I don't remember too much about wigs. Now, my neighbor, when I was real little, I never seen her any other way but a wig. And I wonder if that's why I don't like wigs. I can't. I've tried to wear them, but they're just some way or another. They don't do right on me. I can wear them and go outdoors and come back in the house and look like to me it's done got crooked or it's raised up or something. I don't know.
How do you feel about the hairstyles today? People don't press their hair like they used to.
Some of it I like, some of it.
Like butch. How do you like that?
Well, when they take it to an extreme, I've seen some and they can wear it and it's very becoming. And I can see it's very convenient. But like everything, And of course, the men with these beards, I can't stand it. I never liked the man with all their hair on the face.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? You like the boys with all that?
That's just me.
Well,
I don't like it.
well, I'll have to see one meet. I tell you, I never liked mustache. To me, that no, I get in my mouth.
What about cornrows? You like cornrows?
They're neat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the youngsters, I think it's kind of cute. But with everything we've talked about, you know, there's some that take it to its extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Now now what do you call this that they're wearing, you know, in the long braid? That isn't cornrow, is it? You know, and then they have them beads. Yeah, what do they call that?
I thought it was cornrows.
Well, I'd put it in the same category, but I think that they call it something else. Because I was corrected the other day, something, and I thought, because it was a child, and they said no, because in some ways they're different in the braid. Well, this French braid,
Oh,
now
French
that's,
braid.
well, now that's what we used to call it. But of course, and I know you can do it underhand, which makes it prettier.
Mm-hmm.
But you also can do it over. So it seemed like there was something about that. So I don't know, you know, the hair probably would wait, whether it was under or over, and they was calling it something else. But now you can't prove it to me because I.
Okay.
Oh, I never.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you were speaking of the grooming then.
Mm-hmm. Right. Do you think most black people want to live, work, and go to school with white? Do you think they really want to, or?
Darn, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any idea how they feel about it, because I would have if I'd had youngsters in school and going to these different things. You see what I mean? But since I don't, and none of my friends now has any children, and I have younger friends, but yet and still, they're yet old enough that their kids are all graduated.
How do you think most white people feel about black people today?
I think they feel about like they've always felt. There are white people would do the blacks just like they did in the beginning if they could. It's simply because, you know, we are, to the extent and have been for so long, to take up for ourselves, and after all, they're just human, that they know that they can't, you know, they can't make you do, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a fist fight, that kind of stuff, so it's just like anybody else. But I think there's just plenty that can't. I notice it in God's organization, and I mean that because it's based, as I told you, strictly from Bible. If the Bible says feed you, when we read it, that's what we do, you see what I mean, in a comical way of speaking. And as I've told you, there is an over 25 colored here in Muncie that belongs to the two, and we have the two, and I don't know how many witnesses is here in Muncie. And again, there's all types of people in God's. You've got sense enough to know that. And what I'm saying it this way. So there's rich, wealthy, trash, whatnot. And you take some of them, they know nothing, just like just like they were before they come in. They don't know nothing about colored people. See? But God's Word is telling them God has no respect of person. See? So following the truth, and they have to learn it. They have to learn to accept us.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And there's plenty of us has to learn to accept them. Because there's a lot of people, we do field work. I don't do as much as a lot of people do, but nevertheless I do some. And you meet up with colored people, and I'll have them to say to me, because again, everybody knows me. And concerning that, and I think you can see them many times, they would study. They would like to know more about the truth, because we're talking what we have to do to gain everlasting life. And everybody wants everlasting life. But it's being there with those white people that holds them back. They don't want to get mixed up with it. They can't see because how long it was. Because I used to think that. Now there was a family here. The only family, when at that time was only colored family here in Muncie. And again, I was real small. Way before, I told you my mother died when I was 7 years old. Way before my mother died. And their names was Grundys. You'll probably hear that name again. And they lived on the corner of First and Persian, a lovely home. They were always, kind of, we felt like big, uppy people. But they were Jehovah's Witnesses. But again, I didn't know it like that. But however, as I got up large enough, only thing I ever heard said they went to a white church. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's still like that today. A lot of people, they feel like I go to white church. But all I want to know is that's what they think, and I break it down to them. No.
You can listen.
Listen. Them white people don't. And I can understand how it's hard for some to accept. I go back again, since you've been talking to me, and the way you raised, where you raised, that has made you. So that was with me. We were raised in a mixed neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, I didn't have that. Looking at white people, because I told you, those neighbors, now we didn't visit the Rays, as I told you, the people on the meat market and that. We didn't visit, but nevertheless, as I said, the once or twice, I remember my brothers swapping a little thing, but that was all there was to it. And they went over there, or they come across, or whatever. My mother was a widow in her sickness. Probably some of them would bring a pitcher of lemonade in those days, it would be hot, because it's her last sickness. It was awfully, awfully hot. And just, like that. So, and in keeping house, there was always some white families that would come around us. And I've had my neighbors, they'd ask me about it, I never thought anything about it, because they'd be.
How do you think white people feel about you?
Well, when I'm with white people, if they make over me or friendly, I can't judge them any more so than I could you. I don't know whether they mean it or not. Their action. And I have some that they're out, they'll just run in, just like anybody else do. We'll have coffee, or I know one just once, this girl, she pioneers, which is out in service all the time. And I don't know how come It was, I'm sure that it was apple season. And when she came in, and I told her, well, or she must have stopped. Anyway, I served him lunch, and I remember I had hot apple pie, and I believe I had fried chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, they just about had a fit. Because, well, they just come in like home, you know, in the way I was serving. Well, I thought nothing about it. I was thinking, that girl is out in service all the time. She has a family. She had to pick her kids up, you know, from school. And I told her, well, bring them on by. They had to have their lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, I just felt like she appreciated it,
Mm-hmm.
like anybody would. That's the way I felt about it, you know. So, would it answer you to say it doesn't elevate me? When they're friendly, they're friendly. The people I work for, I worked in that family off and on. As I said, it wasn't week work, it was day. And possibly I would work during the children's summer vacation. And I maybe wouldn't go back until, maybe around holidays I'd probably go in and clean or something like that. See, now that was my work. But I did that so many years. In fact, I worked for them people all over 30 years.
What was the name of the family?
Coons.
Coons.
At that time, they were all business. They were lawyers and real estate people. But as they lived, sickness and one thing or another, and I knew them, they were lovely to me, and I would just go in when I knew that they needed help.
Mm-hmm.
Their health began to run out, and their money also. Well, I knew that, but they were really blue blood, you know. They just never let off. But I knew that, and I went in, and one time, really, I hadn't been there in 6-7 years. And Wade come up, and happened, I called her that Sunday morning. And when I called her, she heard my voice, she went to crying. Well, I had never heard this coon do that, and I said, well, what in the world is wrong? So I just put the phone down and went right on out to her. Well, when I got out there he was sick. The house looked like I don't know what. This great big house with this dining rooms and living rooms and all these, you know, things. There they had done brought a bed down from upstairs and had it in the dining room. Now, I done worked there and cleaned for clubs and all of this for her. You know how.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went right on back and worked for her, got everything straight for her. And she didn't, I don't have the money. I said, I didn't ask you. Now, I don't tell that to people because people think I'm crazy, or crazy by white folks or something, as they call it. But sweetheart, before God, that wasn't it. She was a human and she needed help. Now, that's just the way it fazed me. Okay, but later on, because I continued, I stayed, I just go in at my time, a day that I had that I could go, that's when I went. Now, that's the way it was. And or maybe sometime day that I would be there, well, then she would go out, you know. Well, her husband was even so, she had to diaper him. And I've changed him. Now, he had been a big lawyer and everything. But it proves to me, and I hope you know what and that you will see it. They were just human. The man was suffering, you know. So he accepted that just like what it was. That was all. So later on, though, honey, I got every penny in money. Because when her daughter, naturally, when she come over, and of course they knowed I'd been there before they saw me. And that girl made fixed it so that after that, well, then they would pay me, and always overpay me. We went in there, my husband, and he'd take to going out and cutting the grass and all. We went in there, him and I, and be in there about 6 hours, maybe, and maybe less than that, and walk out of there with $20 or $22. I've done it many times. So you see what I mean? I got the money for it, so it wasn't to. But going back, white and color. Now there's hundreds. I got hundreds of friends. Yeah, they think I was the biggest fool there ever was, because that's the way they look at people. But I tried to get a lady the other day, but she's in the truth. But she called me, it's been about 3 weeks ago, and just wondered, could I help her? Well, I laughed at her. I know her well, and I said, well, I don't know whether I can or not. That depends. What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter had to take me out, but I went on out to see what was what. And she had hurt herself, her foot, very badly. And but I would have went back if it had been so I could have gotten to her without having to stop my daughter doing it, because she really has her handful. As I said, she takes care of a lady in her home and works, because she's at work right now. But how they feel, darling, I couldn't answer that question, because I think it's just like it's always been. Some people can and some can't. Now I don't know. Now how do you see it at your age?